energy.
Alrighty, week 2. Big game for the FIU Panthers. They are going up against the University of North Texas, the Mean Green. We are here with Johnny and Jake, my co-host. What's up, guys? Huge game for FIU as they're currently 1-1. And this is a big game. I mean, when you look at what this means for FIU, you need to win this. This is a former Conference USA opponent that whooped the last season. 52-14 was the final score. They made a lot of changes, though. We have to But before we go to that, what's up, guys? How we feeling? We're gonna be there in a couple hours. How we doing?
I mean, I'm excited. It's Biscayne Blue Night. You got the blue unis on. That's the big thing for me. But I'm excited to see them all, in that blue attire. We got the end zones rocking the baby blue, and I think you said it right, Kevin. It's a really good barometer. You want to see what this team has. We saw how week 0 went. We saw how last week went. But this is a big test because after this, you have UConn, which could be an opportunity. But this is a good opportunity for FIU. You got a North Texas team that it's a bit different than what they had, but they're a more experienced ball club. So I'm excited to see what FIU has to offer. But based on how the defense went, and if FIU can improve the offense, we should have a good contest tonight.
Yeah. As you mentioned, this kind of feels like a must-win game already for FIU this season if they really want to think about going bowling down the line because – yeah, they got their win last week against Maine, and that's great and all. But, a close 14-12 victory over an FCS school doesn't exactly breed confidence for our opponents down the road because, as we talked about last week, Maine was the easiest team that FIU is going to play this season.
You have Sam Houston, but –
There's Sam Houston, but, I mean, by the time we play Sam Houston, they'll get their hands dirty against some FBS schools. But – there were some good takeaways from that Maine game. There were some bad takeaways. I think we're going to talk about as we get ready to discuss this matchup with North Texas. And Keon Jenkins from Miami Central getting the start for FIU at quarterback. And I think for the most part, he did pretty good. He set a freshman record, had those 2 awesome passes to Chris Mitchell. That looks like a great connection that's going to be made for FIU football down the road, that Keon to Chris Mitchell connection. For the most part, he looked all right.
Yeah, I think that's where we could start. Obviously, we'll look back at week 1. As Jake mentioned, FIU did beat Maine, the Black Bears, to a final score of 14-12. I think that was a little bit of an underwhelming game for FIU. I think they should have scored a lot more. They should have blown this team out of the water. When you look at it, really, FIU didn't deserve to win. No offense. They did not deserve to win.
Right.
You got the way that their offense played in that second half was just completely flat. I think, the Shula Bowl podcast, which filmed today, they put out their episode today. They mentioned it. We're going to mention it here, but this defense has been lights out. And no, we're not playing the clip. We're not playing
the clip. That's only for podcast episodes. By the
way, we'll play it soon. We'll get it soon. Soon. But
by the way, we got a great episode coming up. Spoiler alert! I believe on Tuesday. Awesome guest.
I'm gonna say I don't think we've added the Keon the lights out video in a while. I feel like we're due for it, but
we're due. Kevin's looking to the side of the screen. Is he gonna play it? Is he gonna play it?
No, not now. No, I was, but you spoiled it.
Oh, I spoiled it. Okay.
All right, well, let's talk about this defense. Obviously, they lost a lot of pieces, as we've really mentioned before. Johnny, what did you think? I mean, they made that huge 4th down stop. They had 2 sacks, no interceptions this time around. But I will say, if there's one thing that's concerned me about this defense, it is the inability to tackle at the initial tackle. That is the one thing that's hurt this team a lot. The Derek Daniel, the safety, keep that in mind. He's a safety. He was second in total tackles in week 1. I'm sorry, for against Maine. He ended with 11 total tackles. So, I mean, there is a lot to be, I guess, scared about with this defense. A little concerned in terms of them not being able to make that initial tackle. It kind of helped Maine kind of move the chains a little bit. I mean, not a little bit, a lot, especially in the run game late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defense. There's signs of, hey, we got something going. I mean, what was it? 22 allowed in the game, number 1, 12 allowed, last week. And obviously, albeit it's Maine. But this defense, you can really see that they're tested, they're battled, and they're, really, really gritty. I mean, Don Emanuel, he's a dog. I mean, you saw me played against Maine. He was just, his tackles were insane. But I think you're happy about how the defense has played because that was an issue for the team last year and years prior, and they have definitely made a big switch. I just think that you want to see everything click together. But I feel good about the defense. I think it's a different North Texas team. They're experienced. They can put up points, but I think FI is a good opportunity to say, hey, let's show something here. If they can have a great game like week 0 against La Tech and get some stops, maybe get some turnovers, which they have shown this first couple of games, I think they have a chance to make some noise. But obviously, everything has to click with the offense and the defense as well.
And you had mentioned the lack of turnovers, and that is true. However, Donovan Manuel, who by the way had another great game, 14 tackles, also
first Conference USA,
also
USA with tackles, 5th in the nation.
Forced 2 fumbles in that game. One of them was recovered by FIU in the second half. But I mean, at the end of the day, I am happy with how FIU's defense looked. I mean, they only gave up 12 points through it all, right? And if your defense only gives up 12 points in a game, your offense better capitalize. And in the first half they did, and in the second half they didn't. So I think the reason why that game was so close was because you mentioned it earlier, Kevin. The FIU offense just struggled in the second half once again. This is now the second straight week that they just could not get the ball rolling, even after being gifted opportunities, after being gifted penalties. They still could not get some points in, and that leads me to probably the most confusing part of that main game. It was the 3 fourth down attempts in the main side of the field in which FIU came up with nothing. I really felt like if the Panthers just let Chase Gabriel go out there all those times and kick a field goal, which we know he has the leg for in all those scenarios, we could have been looking at a 23-12 game, which definitely feels a lot better than 14-12.
Yeah, you could say that, but then there's the excuse that Coach Mack used, and it's a legitimate one, and it was the right thing to say, and he's not wrong. The wind was blowing, man. Mm-hmm. It was blowing that day, and it made sense to go on 4th down. If the wind wasn't blowing, he said he would have gone with Chase Gabriel, and he said that, and he told you. You asked him, he told you. And I wouldn't say that the offense was flat throughout the whole game. They were great in the first half.
Oh, yeah.
The ball moving. Keywan had the 2 touchdowns to Chris Mitchell. In the second half, even, it had its moments with Dean Patterson had that, I believe, like the 36-yard run reception there.
Punt return too.
He had a punt return that he fumbled it, let's be honest.
Yeah, that was a separate thing. That was
weird. That was a weird
Patterson stand, Johnny, but we got to talk about that one. So, yeah. And the 4th down attempts were interesting. I'm interested to see if they do it against a team like North Texas. And we'll talk about that soon. But anything else you guys want to touch up on when it comes to this week 1 matchup?
You can go, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, before the season, we all wondered who would be wide receiver number 1 for this FIU football team. It was not a clear-cut answer, but if that game was any indication, it's looking like it's going to be Chris Mitchell. 201 yards, the most in a single game by an FIU wide receiver, tied with Tyrese Chambers and T.Y. Hilton with that exact number. That's a crazy stat for Chris Mitchell, who had a freshman quarterback throwing the ball to him, right? And again, Keon himself, the most passing yards by a freshman quarterback in FIU history, 292 off of 15 completions. So aside from that, I thought the running game in the main matchup was okay, but it wasn't near as good as it was in Louisiana Tech. I mean, Louisiana Tech, the running game carried the Panthers throughout that entire first half, right? So I feel like, well, that's an interesting color.
I'm trying to get the Biscayne blue.
That's an even better color.
There we go. We'll use this because we couldn't get a background for Biscayne blue.
Right. So I feel like if FIU's offense can combine the running game they had against Louisiana Tech and the passing game they had against Maine, along with just moving the ball down the field in the second half, then I think FIU's offense actually has a chance to be great. But at this very moment, I'm proud of the defense. I think they're honestly carrying the team at this point, which isn't a bad thing. It just says how great the defense has been for FIU. But they're going to have a really tough challenge today against this North Texas offense.
I will say, if there's something that that I really enjoyed watching was the play calling for the most part. Mm-hmm. David Yost, their offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, really improved from week 0 to week 1. I mean, you saw more deep shots down the field. Obviously, you saw they actually more than 4 passing yards you saw just a better flow in the offense with Kiwan in there, and it really shows what the players say. You were there, Johnny, and Jake, the post game that day. Chris Mitchell talked very highly of Kiwan. They spoke about how they've been working since spring, how they were really just trying to mesh together, and it really shows that maybe this is Kiwan's team right now. Maybe the lights out show is gonna get it going because man, he really has been good this year. That one game obviously breaks the touchdown record. It's really lights out.
Lights out! Lights out!
I had to incorporate it somewhere.
We were due for it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, anything else you guys want to quickly touch up on before we move on to, I guess, a couple news throughout the week when it comes to FIU football? What Coach said during his midweek press conference.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, hopefully that we, the support from the students. I really enjoyed seeing that. I think there were about 4,000 students there.
Yeah.
At the game on last.
Apparently, the paid attendance was 16,000 fans. I don't know.
But I'm more looking at the students. I was really happy with the student turnout. That's the big thing with athletics is making sure the students come to these games. And it was great to see all the support there and everyone decked down in gold. And slowly but surely, I think that we're seeing change within more support. And it was a fun game to see, like everyone, when they got the touchdown for Kiwan, they're all supporting and stuff. But I like seeing that, and hopefully we'll see it tonight in the Biscayne blue uniforms.
Yeah, and shout out to Section 12 as well, by the way.
Yeah, 112. Yeah, there we go.
I got to we were actually invited out to check out the tailgating of Section 112 over at the little Tamiami Park there. It was super fun. There's some super cool dudes, and it was just cool to just let us chill there. Great burgers, by the way, in case you guys are watching. Those burgers, damn good. But
we asked Jake if they can save us some, but
they listen. They ran out.
Hey, we know you're watching. You could get us some burgers, Section 112. I know you're watching, John. I know you're watching, Papa Panther.
Yeah,
there you go.
Those burgers were great, but the hospitality was even better. It was a super fun time, and again, not to mention the student tailgating as well over at Tamiami Hall was great to see. Panther Walk looked to be a success once again. Just super cool activity, and we want to see that repeat it again today, but in blue.
Alrighty, so let's start to preview University of North Texas versus FIU. I think the big news of the week is that Kiwan Jenkins will once again be the starter. We don't have to talk about him. We just have to talk about, do you guys agree with the decision? Obviously, they're kind of riding that momentum of the week one win. He played pretty well for the most part. And I do want to ask you guys, do you guys think those 3 sacks came in due to the offensive line? Or do you think it came for him trying to extend the play? I think it was more extending the play than the O-line. Yeah. But I think one of the 3 sacks was definitely on the O-line. I think it was the 4th down play where they just couldn't – he couldn't hold it down in the pocket.
Yeah, that 1 4th down play wasn't it the one where they thought that there was going to be I
think there was an offside
start or an offsides penalty?
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't that one. I think it was the one before that.
Okay, the one before that, yeah. I think for the most part, there was that one play where Keon was running to his right, and there was just a North Texas defender all by himself running at him, and Keon had no idea he was coming up from behind. And yeah, that was definitely on Keon. He has to get the ball out a little bit faster in those situations, either to a receiver or out of bounds, just to get the ball out of his hands. But aside from that, the offensive line, yeah, they had a couple struggles, but for the most part, I thought they were all right.
Yep. All right, the last thing I'll mention quickly with Kiwan is that Coach Mack did mention that it'll be a week-to-week decision on who he will start. This week, though, he sounded pretty confident they were going to go with Kiwan Jenkins, so I think that's a good thing. Like last time, he really just didn't. He didn't go one way or another. He mentioned Grayson, but let's talk about University of North Texas. This is a team that absolutely killed FIU last season, and they have the last 2 seasons. Funny enough, historically, they are 5-5 against each other. So the winner of this matchup will have the better record overall against each other. So obviously, they don't have their quarterback, Austin Ani. They don't have their head coach. Now, I believe it's Spencer Morris for UNT. So they made that change. But they still have a couple big threats. They have their 2 running backs who played a big role in that win last season. And now you also have Jamore Macklin and Roderick Burns, who are 2 big-time receivers. Those guys fly. those are the guys that Coach Mack mentioned. They don't have their tight end from last season who made a pretty big impact. So
yeah,
there's a lot to take away from that one team. Johnny, what are you seeing from the University of North Texas? What did you see last season that kind of stands out to you going into this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I think that was interesting. I mean, for them, I mean, they played Cal, and obviously Cal, they're a Power 5 team, but at home they gave up 600 yards of total offense. It was a lot. A lot of it came in the second half. It was a close game, but a lot of it was big for their offense.
Started talking about North Texas. I got allergic for a second. This is a team that not fun to watch as an FIU fan. Past few years, it's been a while since FIU got their last win.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I think it was. If I can let me make sure, I think it was 45-7 the last time these two teams.
It was 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, for North, it was last year, or the last win. You mean?
FIU's last win against the Mean Green.
Definitely the TY year. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is not Conference USA a matchup for them, but
it's going to feel like a Conference USA matchup, though.
A little bit. It feels a little past that little feel. I think
they were just a Conference USA team. They made the move to the AAC with say 5 other conference.
Yeah, FAU, right, Charlotte. But I just think for FIU, you saw how they played defensively. You want to maybe see if you can adjust that, maybe find some things that they can work out at North Texas and use that to be able to make something happen with the offense, because I feel like if you're able to sustain a drive with Kevon, which we saw that happen. He got stopped in 4th downs in the red zone, but he's able to sustain it and move the ball. I think he'll be able to get some things going if they're able to really find ways to attack that North Texas defense that did not look good in the second half last week.
Yeah. By the way, I still find it crazy that North Texas fired their previous head coach, Seth Littrell, right after they lost in the Conference USA championship game to UTSA. If I'm not mistaken, North Texas has been was in the Conference USA championship game for the last few years. Granted, they never had won, and I'm assuming that's why North Texas made the decision to fire Coach Littrell. But it's still insane that he produced good records for them, and they still threw him out. But now, as you mentioned, Eric Morris, previously a head coach at Incarnate Word, and Washington State as well as an offensive coordinator. It's funny because North Texas, with the exception of the quarterback room, is actually their offense is pretty similar to what we saw last year, especially weapons wise. Of course, I love what North Texas did last season with their running game. They didn't really have one star running back. They kind of had a trio of really good backs in Ayo Adei, Ikaika Ragsdale, and Oscar Adaway. They all had 807, 755, and 583 yards, right? With 16 touchdowns, right? They're all coming back this season. Granted, Cal shut down the running game, North Texas running game. I guarantee you FIU's defense is going to be looking at the film, seeing what Cal did to stop North Texas's backs. So that's going to be an interesting matchup there, the running game versus the defensive line for the Panthers.
Just want to take a look at this quote. This was sent by our good friend Eric Henry here. And this was after they suffered their week 1 loss against Cal. So Stone Earl threw for 3 touchdowns. Jamori Macklin had 122 yards for 2 touchdowns. It was a good game overall, when you look at the box score, but they lost. And Coach Spencer Morris really was not very pleased with what he saw in film. And this is the quote that stood out here. And I mentioned it in my preview. Eric told me about it. So just something I wanted to point out. Obviously, for North Texas, you're looking at it from their point of view. This is a game that, you look and you're like, this could be one of those get right games. We've beat FIU bad. We've destroyed them for the last 2 years. Let's make it 3 years in a row, and let's beat them again at their house. We did it already at ours. Let's do it at theirs. And that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's a big quote, right? Well, I mean, it's the first year for any head coach. There's going to be lots of ups and downs. Of course, having to manage the coaching staff, which I think the coaching staff for the most part is relatively similar to what they had last year, aside from this brand new head coach, right? And talking a bit about Stone Earl, yeah, I think he actually had a pretty solid game, throwing for 3 touchdowns, not too shabby. But I mean, when
he's a dual threat guy too, I think that's something that needs to be mentioned here.
Yeah,
he was the leading rusher last year for UNT in their game against FIU, and he was the quarterback. So it kind of it shows you 2 things. It shows you how weak North Texas run game is, or how it was, and it shows you how much of a threat someone like Stone Earl will be tonight against FIU. And I think the other thing I'll mention on the defensive end for North Texas is their defense. I was on the meangreen.com podcast, and they were talking about, this is a team that really can't make tackles either, just like FIU. Their defensive line is not very strong, so it would not surprise me if we see Shamari Lawrence just bust out for a big run there, like 100. It wouldn't surprise me.
That's what we want to see.
100 yards.
It's funny. The defense was probably the most criticized part of North Texas following that game against Cal. I mean, they ran a 3-3-5 strategy almost the entire game, did not really adjust, and wouldn't you know it, Cal dropped 58 on them as a result. So if FIU's defense, or excuse me, their offense can just look at the tape, see what North Texas allowed Cal to just do, which was basically just control the game the entire day, destroyed the time of possession, did not commit penalties, forced North Texas to commit penalties on defense as well. I think their defense took a way bigger hit in the transfer portal than the offense. The offense, we pretty much know who the weapons are going to be, like running backs, wide receivers, obviously new quarterback for the most part. But their offense, we have a good idea of. Their defense is a bit of a bigger picture, and it's definitely not looking good after that Cal game, right? But again, Cal is Cal, Power 5 school, about to join, I think, the ACC, right? So one of those teams that are joining the ACC, I believe.
Cal.
Look out for Jalen Smith for North Texas on defense, though. Junior linebacker, had 9 tackles and a forced fumble. He didn't really get that many snaps in 2022, but they're looking to see his snaps grow this season, and he could be a good player that could stand out. And him and John Davis as well, the DB who also got a pick against Cal. So we'll see where those two players go. But for the most part, the defense definitely something FIU can take advantage of.
I don't think we have too much more to preview on this game. I think we kind of touched upon everything. I thought we were going to go a lot longer, but
yeah,
we're probably going to end this around the 30-minute marker a little bit more.
That would be cool.
We're going to talk about the jerseys that were released quickly. FIU's, Vice, and Biscayne Blue, and we're going to go one by one and say which one we like more. Alex Nobles told us today, on Tuesday, that he liked the Vice jerseys, but man, like those Biscayne.
I like them. Really like.
I see we're taking a page out of the Shulable podcast for this one. Oh, and then
I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Right.
But Jake,
it's a tough segment.
What do you like more?
It's a tough decision. You know what? I think I'm going to say, listen, they're both like 10 out of 10 jerseys, right? There's no wrong answer here regarding which one you like more, the Biscayne Blue or the Vice. But I'm going to go with the Vice. I think the Vice was a long time coming. We had like a sneak preview of that when FIU took on Miami at Marlins Park. They had those special Vice-esque decals on their helmets. And they translated into what we see now, which I think the Vice uniforms were done almost perfectly because they have more detail, right? I love what they did with the sleeves and the pants. They incorporated palm trees, the Miami skyline, water, and of course the pink and blue pastel, right? In retrospect, I like the Biscayne Blue jerseys. They are a bit more plain than the Vice uniforms. That's not a bad thing because I would love the color. Biscayne Blue, those powder blue, baby blue colors are probably some of the best colors in all of sports, right? You see teams like the Los Angeles Chargers rock them. The St. Louis Cardinals, with their throwbacks, they rock them too. It's a great color. Okay. I'm going to go Vice. I'd say Vice is like a 10 out of 10. Biscayne Blue is like a 9.5 out of 10. They're incredible. Okay. There's no wrong answer here. There is no wrong answer.
Johnny, what's your choice?
The Vice is like really, really, it's like, I don't know. I just like the whole aesthetic of it. It's like Miami, but the Biscayne Blue is like, I know if someone said, "Oh, like it doesn't work with the scheme, whatever." Like, no, like look, it's different, but like I like different. I like it. It's just like so unique and like you bring variety to it. Like I don't know. It's just like I like how it's all blue really makes it pop out. I'm excited to see how it is when they're playing on the gridiron. That's gonna be the fun part. The great video by Hunter.
Those people who say that color doesn't work for FIU, clearly they haven't seen FIU basketball or baseball. Who have already been rocking those powder blue colors for years now, right?
The powder blue
for that FIU finally got on board with it.
The powder blue for basketball looks dope.
It looks dope. Baseball is also really good.
It's good, but our boy Ryan isn't a big fan of them.
By the way, the field looks good too. The powder blue, Biscayne blue end zones and the logo in center, they look really good too.
All right,
and
Johnny,
it was so cool to see those in person. By the way, FIU football put out that video on social media of Paws Up podcast.
Legend,
McDonald
Jackson,
rushing up to people and just asking to throw the ball. Not only was it very funny, but damn, they look good in person, right? Those unis.
We'll see them in a couple of hours. Johnny, what's your choice, man? Biscayne blue?
I'm going Biscayne blue. Biscayne blue is mine.
I'm also gonna go Biscayne blue. I like it way too
much.
I'm
the odd man out. So I'm going Vice. I'm sorry. I love Vice.
I love
Biscayne blues are great.
I like it too. The thing is, man, like the Vice was so good that it was hard to top it. It would have been hard to top it.
Right.
God damn, did they top it, man? Like that Biscayne blue, the couple shades in there. The Panther looks amazing. The field looks great. I had a feeling they were gonna do it too because I went to the football fields earlier this week and I saw a little blue on the end zone and I was like, they're releasing.
We thought it was too late for them to announce those uniforms, but lo and behold, they did. And I don't think they got
early. We thought it was too early to do it originally, and
I don't think they got as much traction as the Vice unis. However, they were featured on SportsCenter earlier today. They always do a segment before College Game Day where they showcase some of the best fits for the week, and FIU's was there.
They'll get the Vice one there too. So.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So before we do FIU's prediction, let's do Conference USA. So Jay,
let's do that.
I'm gonna let you take over around college football.
So around college football, I definitely think the biggest game of the day, of course, is Alabama versus Texas. That should be an absolute shootout there.
Can we predict that one just for fun?
Just for fun, let's predict that one. I am going with I guess it's an upset. Give me the Longhorns. Hook 'em horns.
I'm going Longhorns. Shout out Eric Henry.
Got it, Eric. Yep. I'll go Texas. I want Texas. I was about to say Alabama, but you know what? I'm going to go the underdog. I think Texas is going to pull an upset in Bryant Denny against Saban.
Aside from that game, probably the other biggest game of the week is our neighbors in Coral Gables hosting Texas A&M. That should be an exciting one.
That's a huge game for both schools.
That should be great. I honestly thought Miami should have beaten Texas A&M last year, but they didn't. I think they're going to rebound this time.
First of all, needs a win.
He does need a win. He needs a big win.
He needs like a signature win, and that signature win would be against Texas A&M right here.
Right. Texas A&M now, then Florida State later, right? That's the goal.
State. They play them this year, right?
Yeah, they play them every year, Kevin. That's their biggest rival.
ACC.
Yeah, man. So I actually think the Canes will get it done today. I'm actually going with the Hurricanes at home. I liked what I saw from Miami's running game along with Tyler Van Dyke last week against Miami of Ohio. Defense looked great too. That's a good team there in Coral Gables. Not even gonna lie. We could be here and we're like, Miami. But listen, they're a good team. I respect them, and I want to see how they do this season. I'm taking them tonight.
I'll take Miami as well.
Johnny, you're on board too?
I'll take.
Dude, come on.
I'll take the
I know
Aggies.
you got to keep your positivity, but here.
I'll take the Aggies.
Oh, okay. That's not a terrible pick. They are a good team, right?
I'll say this: we beat the Hurricanes soccer this past Thursday.
That was cool. That was cool.
College Game Day took the Aggies.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. I think Lee Corso was the only one that took the Canes.
He was the only one that took the Canes. Yeah. Alrighty, let's do around to USA.
So let's look at Conference USA. Starting with last week, both Johnny and myself went 8-1 last week with our Conference USA picks. Kevin went 7-2, so Kevin is the loser of week 1. Kevin went with Southern Methodist over Louisiana Tech, which was the other way. He went with Louisiana Tech over Southern Methodist, which was the other way around. And all of us picked Incarnate Word as an upset over UTEP. But aside from that, Liberty beat Bowling Green, Jacksonville State over East Tennessee State, West Kentucky over South Florida, Alabama destroyed Middle Tennessee, and Mexico State also destroyed Western Illinois, and BYU shut out Sam Houston last week. So clean slate. Now we get into this week. And once again, this was recorded way earlier in the day, so we'll figure out how we all did at nighttime. But let's start off with the University of Texas El Paso Miners having to go to Evanston, Illinois to take on Northwestern. They looked good against Incarnate Word, but Northwestern is definitely a big step up. I'd like to say they're on upset alert, but I'll be safe here. I'll go with Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Northwestern. I think UTEP, they were showing they're not a great team on the road. Obviously, Northwestern, they've had their a lot of the a lot of issues with their coach gone in that sense and all that stuff in the Big Ten. But I think that UTEP is a team that does tend to struggle, especially with them going up to all the way up to Chicago. But I'll take Northwestern in this one.
Give me Northwestern as well.
Yeah. And we actually have a conference matchup today. And I think it's going to be a good one. Coming at you from Lynchburg, Virginia, it's New Mexico State versus Liberty. Both teams looked really, really good last week, right? Especially New Mexico State, they put up 58 points on offense. A lot of people still have Liberty versus Western Kentucky in the conference championship. If they want to be there, they got to beat these schools. And I'll take Liberty on this one, but it's going to be a close one. This game could go down into overtime. That's how close it could be. But I'll go with the Flames.
Give me Liberty.
Oh, I feel like I would usually say Liberty. New Mexico State is a pretty good team. They're up to 6-8 at Bowls. Liberty did go up 24 points to Bowling Green. I'll take New Mexico State. I don't know. I'll take. I'll take New Mexico State.
I respect that pick. I think that should be probably, aside from maybe our game, North Texas FIU, that could be one of the best games in the conference slate. So
it is
moving on. Jacksonville State, who looked good against East Tennessee State, definitely a much bigger opponent now. Coastal Carolina, a team that has been very good for the past few years. You know what? This will be my upset for the day. They're on the road. It's not going to be easy, but give me the Gamecocks to upset the Chanticleers.
They're 2-0, right? Jacksonville State?
Yeah, they are 2-0.
I'll take Jacksonville State, and I'll take the upset here.
Jacksonville and Illinois, you said?
No, Jacksonville and Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina. I'll take the Chanticleers.
Oh, okay. All right. Boo. Next one. Oh, this might not be a pretty one. Middle Tennessee. They were bodied by Alabama last week. They can't even leave the SEC. Now they got to play Missouri. I think this is going to be another rough week for the Blue Raiders. Give me Missouri.
Go ahead, John.
I'll take the Tigers, Missouri.
Yeah.
Missouri versus who?
Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I'll take Missouri.
The team that just got destroyed by Alabama.
Oh, Missouri.
Now they got to play another SEC school back to back. That's unfair.
I'll go the upset. Give me Middle Tennessee.
Wow, you're taking.
Wow.
Let's have some fun.
You know what? If they do win, props to you. But if they lose, we're gonna laugh at you next week.
Laugh at me all you want, man.
Next up, Northwestern State, an FCS school, heads into Ruston to take on Louisiana Tech. I think Hank and Smoke will look good in this one. Give me the Bulldogs. Easy win.
Yep, La Tech.
Yeah. And Houston Christian going up into Western Kentucky again. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw in the Louisiana Tech game. I think also the Hilltoppers will have no problem with Houston Christian, another FCS school. Give me the Hilltoppers.
Yep, Hilltoppers. I think that's the school that Bailey Zappi went to, Houston Christian, before he went to Western Kentucky, by the way.
Right, yeah.
Give me Hilltoppers.
Yeah. And then the final game of the day, this is an 8 p.m. start. Sam Houston State, who was shut out by BYU, they now take on the Air Force Academy, the Falcons. It's in Houston. Air Force is in. It's a Houston game, so it should be a decent crowd for the Bearcats. But I will go with Air Force in this one.
Yeah, Air Force. Is it an Air Force or is it up there?
It is an Air Force.
That's a hard place to play. Air Force.
It is.
Air Force.
Okay, so we'll see next week how we all did, but I think it's time to get into the game tonight at the Cage. North Texas and FIU. Yeah, I guess I'll start. Okay.
Just say Texas is gonna win, man.
Look, right after the main game ended, I felt, FIU is in trouble against North Texas. But looking more into what I saw with the main game and how they were dismantled by Cal, I think this is going to be an absolute shootout if FIU's offense can actually work in the second half, and if their defense does their job and actually stops North Texas. But I think the question is, who do I trust more? An offense that put up 21 against a Power 5 school in Cal, or an offense that put up 14 against an FCS school? And in this case, I got to go with the Mean Green. I'm sorry. I think it's going to be a close one, though. We're not doing – I know we don't have to do score predictions, but I do make them for my previews on the Paws Up page. Give me North Texas 30, FIU 24.
Johnny, I swear to God, if you say what I know you're going to say, I have the remove button ready right now. You could go, though. I'm going to let you go.
Okay. Hold on. I will say this. This is a good game for both squads. North Texas, FIU. I think I hear what you're saying, Jake, about, FIU scored less than an FCS team than North Texas did in a Cal. That is shown. However, I think for FIU, they're at home. It's an opportunity for them to showcase their talent at the cage, and I think that they'll have a chance to win. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a high score or blowout. I'll say that FIU
You said 40 to
24 to
17
17
before we started.
Nope, not letting that slide in this show. He's laughing too. I see him laughing.
Oh,
what's your real score, Johnny?
We have to do an actual score prediction. Johnny,
okay.
Just for you, predict this score.
Okay, I'll take FIU, but I think it's going to be – I'll say – I think FIU – I think 30 – I think maybe I'll say 30 – say 30 to 24. I think I'll go with that route.
So it's my score but flipped in favor of the Panthers. I respect it. Kevin, what say you?
So I'm the tiebreaker here, huh?
Yeah, I got North Texas. Johnny has FIU.
It's gonna be a good game. I think ESPN has FIU winning. Man,
I thought North Texas was favored the whole week.
North Texas is favored. I think by ESPN they're like FIU's favored.
Oh, like their matchup predictor thing that they do. Okay.
Yeah. North Texas is favored to win by 2 touchdowns. Man, if FIU's defense could play how they've been playing the first 2 weeks, this is going to be a damn close game. If the offense could just get you a couple TDs early on, I'm going to take FIU, and I'm going to take FIU winning 20-17.
Yeah, because you don't want a situation where, you don't want to rely so much heavily on your defense to get.
You can't have that. You cannot
have. You have to be able. Yeah, you got to be able to get some scores up and make it a little easier for the offense.
And there's a reason why I showed that quote earlier, because this team, for your coach to say that not everyone is bought in, either it puts a chip on your shoulder and you're going straight into FIU and you're going to wreck them like you've done last time, or this is going to hurt you and it's going to really deflate your confidence. You could look at it in 2 ways.
This would also be one of those feel-good wins for Conference USA if a current member beats a former member.
That would feel pretty good, huh?
That would feel pretty good for the state of CUSA. But I think it's going to be a good game. And by the way, this is the last part of the 2-game homestand for the Panthers. They have to head to Hartford next week, take on the Yukon Huskies. So before they have to go suffer out in the Northeast, get one more win here in the cage would definitely do some good. Not to mention it makes you 2-1 in the first 3 games of the season, which I think would be a great record for the Panthers.
It would be kind of what we expected entering. It would really make up for the La Tech loss. I'll tell you that.
I still hope and pray that by the time the season comes to a close, like the last game, FIU has like a 5-6 record. That Louisiana Tech game could come back to haunt them, right? That could be a haunting game down the line. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's go Panthers, right? Should be a fun game. Wear blue. If you're making your way to the stadium, you don't know what to wear, how about some blue, huh? So, should be a fun one. A couple of giveaways today as well. They're giving away those 305 shirts to the first, 1,000 students. Not to mention some really cool, like Hispanic Heritage Month's Vamos Panteras stickers. That should also be pretty cool to get those. And Zoo Miami will even be there. left some animals that I guess you can just see or something. And
around the field.
that
would be pretty cool. They like run out with a panther.
That'd be so funny. I mean, doesn't North Texas do that with an actual bald eagle? Because their mascot is an eagle.
Right? Oklahoma State runs out with like a horse.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, a panther.
And now Florida State too. I think they do. They
oh yeah. Well, yeah. That's
in the middle.
Or, but horses can be controlled. A panther, an actual wild Florida panther, unless it's like a baby. I don't know, man. But should be a good one. We'll see y'all there at the cage. If you see us, say hey. And well,
as always, Paws up.
Paws up.